Hey guys, welcome to A Dad Surviving Divorce. Today I wanted to talk about making good memories with your kids. You know, it's important to make the transition for the kids as easy as possible during this divorce. You know, you can do that by reassuring them that they're loved, that you care about them, that they're important. Um, and, you know, part of this whole thing, when you're doing that, you're going to actually make good memories with them. And it's really important to kind of help them get through this. So, I mean, they're going through their own stress and anxiety and, fear. And, and by doing something to give them good memories, you're going to give them an opportunity to focus on different things. Give them an opportunity to relax a little, to laugh, to basically just enjoy the time that they have with you. You know, give them good memories to associate with you in this situation. Now, you don't need a lot of money to really make this work. I mean, I get it. You're paying out a lot of money. You're paying child support. You're probably paying spousal support. You're paying for your attorney. You could be paying for her attorney. But, it doesn't really take money. It really just takes your time, and that will mean more to the kids than anything else. Now, some examples of things that I did with the kids. One of the things when I first moved out, I didn't have anything in the house. It was an empty house. I did have rooms for each of the three kids, so it was a decent sized house. But there was nothing in it. I mean, literally, there was. I think I had a mattress for me, and that was it. So, the first few times the kids came over, there was nothing there. I mean, we didn't have TV. We didn't have, board games. We didn't have Xboxes or, Nintendos or anything like that. We just basically had a roof with a bunch of walls. So what do you do, right? I mean, there wasn't much to do. So as we're sitting there, instead of just staring at each other, we came up with the idea of, it was dark, so let's play hide and seek. Now, you'd think that playing hide and seek in a big empty house would be kind of silly, but actually it was a lot of fun. We did that for like an hour, maybe two, and we actually would do that on a reoccurring basis. I mean, even to this day, many years later, one of the kids will, like, if we're trying to sit around and we're thinking about what to do, it's like, hey, let's play hide and seek. And sometimes we'll do that. Now there's more stuff in the house, so there's better places to hide, but it's one of those simple things of just taking a step back, kind of taking a step back from the situation, trying to give yourself a break from the stress and anxiety, give your kids a break from the stress and anxiety. And really all you're doing is taking time and giving time to them. Now, another example is making food together. I mean, you're going to have to cook for them. It's kind of strange in the transition for me. I mean, there's a lot of things, the pre-divorce life or the married life, there was, my ex did the normal household stuff. I worked, and, so I didn't really have to do a lot of that. It actually was a lot of fun to do some of this stuff, but depending on the age of your kids, even something as simple as making food, if you include them in it and let them do little parts of it, depending on the age, I mean, they don't even have to necessarily do a good job, but just giving them the time, letting them be a part of it can really make for a good memory for them. Now, sometimes I get it. Sometimes it's really tough. I mean, when you're under a lot of stress and anxiety and you're just trying to feed them, and you're just trying to do what you need to do, sometimes that can kind of amp the situation up and make make your stress and anxiety go up. And anytime your stress and anxiety goes up, it goes up for the kids as well. And then when that situation happens, you're definitely not making good memories. But what I would encourage you to do is, if you're having an issue where you are getting stressed, just take a step back. Take a step back, take a breath. I've said this before, just take a breath. Taking a breath, let it out. Just try to relax a little bit. And I say that because I know for me, there were times like my youngest child, my daughter, she'd want to help, but there's not a lot of stuff she could do at the time, but just allowing, giving her something simple to do, something to stir, something to watch, whatever. I mean, she really lit up on that. So, And you're going to have to do that too. So I mean, sometimes you can look like, okay, what can you look at that is maybe you're going to be doing anyways, and how can you include them in that process? And as a result of that, you're going to be making, memories, and good memories with them. Now, another thing that we've come up with later on, is unique projects. Now, I'm fortunate that all my kids are really creative. My oldest and my youngest really like to write stories, and my middle child is a really good artist. I mean, she draws some really great stuff. So we've come up with this thing that we'll do where we'll call it a creative day. And we'll take a day, typically on a weekend. Now we're at this time that I'm filming this, school just let out, so it's summer break. But during the school year, on a Saturday or a Sunday when the kids were with me, we would take a day, and everybody would kind of scroll off and go off in their little corners and work on a project, work on a short story, or for my daughter who likes to draw, she would draw a comic that's an illustrated story, and we'd spend the day writing the story. Then at the end of the day, maybe 30, 40 minutes before we go to bed, we'd all sit down together. One of them would read the stories to everybody, and we would all basically get to hear what the other person came up with. And it's been a lot of fun, and we're going to continue to do that. And in my opinion, it's actually a really cool memory for me. It's a cool memory for the kids. And actually, now that we've been doing it for a while, they will bring it up. They'll be like, "Hey, let's do a creative day," and it's really great. I mean, so just kind of take a step back and what is it that you're good at doing, and that your kids are good at doing that you can all do together. If you're into music, maybe you can sing together, or there's all kinds of different things. Just take a step back. And it doesn't necessarily have to be going out and spending money. Like I said before, you're basically just giving them your time, and the byproduct of that are good memories. Now, another thing that you can do, excuse me, is, and this kind of goes into, and it follows on or dovetails in with giving them the time, and that's just talking with them. Taking the time to talk to them. And it's really been amazing for me that there are times if I can just peel off with one of them and they'll just want to talk about their day. They'll want to talk about what's going on. They'll talk about, their stress, the stress they're having. Now we're to the point where we're not necessarily talking so much about the stress and anxiety of the divorce, but just of their day. And this is one of those things where it's not just, don't just do it during the divorce. I mean, it's good to do it during the divorce, but try to incorporate these type of things in, as you're going forward. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I can peel in the mornings or, late at night, one of them sometimes they'll just want to crawl up next to me and just talk about stuff. And, just being available, being there to give them your time and your attention is really important. You want to establish that you're there for them. And that all dovetails back in with making them feel, loved and important, and that builds into the whole thing of them feeling okay as much as possible in the early stages with what's going on. So, excuse me, bottom line is, make time for them. Okay, so the next thing that I had a little bit of a problem with in the beginning is basically, enabling them or facilitating them to be able to connect up with their friends. And the reason I said I had a problem with it is, whenever you're growing up, when they're growing up, I'm sorry, and you weren't really responsible for, the play dates and the sleepovers and stuff like that. I know the first time that my youngest had a sleepover, it actually kind of made me really nervous. It's like, okay, so now I'm responsible for my kids and someone else's. But, that also sets up memories for them. They're going to, even if if there's not a lot of stuff for them to do, just to be able to show them that you are going to help them live their lives and interact with their friends. Like I said, I've done things like play dates. I've, facilitated them going to other people's houses or meeting friends for movies. They don't really do it as much as I would like. I wish, I've tried to establish that, hey, if there's something that you want to do, and if there's any way that I can make it happen, we'll make it happen. So, think about that. And that can be a little complicated depending on, the relationships you have with their kids' parents and stuff like that. I was fortunate. I mean, even though a lot of those folks were mutual friends, early on, those people didn't really take sides and were also really supportive. Now, so that was really helpful. So, try to do that. I mean, if you can have them come over to your house, that's great. Have play dates, and a play date for older kids can be having their friends come over and watch movies or play Xbox, or that type of thing. And it can be intimidating, but try to make that happen. See if you can do that. I mean, it's good for them. It's actually pretty good for you as well. So all of this is really giving them a sense of, a normalcy to what's going on. Everything can't just be about the divorce. It cannot be about the anger and the frustration between you and your ex. And I get it. It is super tough when you are in the middle of a ugly divorce and you're dealing with attorneys and you're dealing with custody evaluators and, all these different things that make you feel anxious and stressed, and just to take a step back for a moment, I've talked a lot about building a support system and keeping yourself calm and grounded. And maybe I haven't said this up to now, but in the beginning, I didn't really have a good support system. I had a lot of anxiety and stress and fear about what was going to happen and how the process was going to play out. So that interfered with a lot of all this stuff. Now, I was still able to do some things to make some good memories with the kids and make the most of it. But had I been able to take a step back, in the beginning of this, I would have been able to really help the kids a lot better during this process. And to be quite honest, if you can do that, and if your kids are feeling okay, the different people within the process are going to see it. I mean, that was, and I'll do another, I will do another video or a video dedicated like on custody evaluations and stuff like that. But, I was getting really caught up in what was being said through the ex and her attorney that, and I was thinking that people would believe it. So it made me really stressful and anxious. But, as it played out, as people were observing what was going on, they were able to see that I had a good relationship with the kids. And that's kind of what you're doing, is you're trying to rebuild or build a better relationship with your kids. And all this that I'm talking about with making memories is a really big, important step from it. And so we talked a little bit about the divorce, or, how the divorce is impacting you, but you're really trying to insulate them from the divorce. And, so I say that and, you're like, well, that's impossible. You can't really do that. And I get it, right? You're trying to protect them from as much as you can from the divorce. And technically, I get it. It's impossible. I mean, they're going through it. They're switching houses. They're confused and they're scared and they're anxious. But if you can project to them that calm and grounded environment, a lot of good can come from that. And like I said, some of this stuff I'm talking about right now about building those memories with them is a big step in that. Excuse me. Give them an environment to feel calm and grounded. That's really important. I mean, doing that's going to be like I said, a really big step in allowing them to relax and allowing them to just, have some fun as much as possible, with you and laugh with you and, be happy. And basically build those memories to where it's like, okay, well, this wasn't a complete train wreck. Well, I mean, it is a train wreck, and there is going to be collateral damage along the line. But these are some things you can do early on to really minimize that. I mean, if you think about it, the more you can make them feel calm and grounded in their own environment, the more relaxed they're going to be. Now, they may have differences with the way it is at your house and with the way it is at their mom's house. But if you can reduce the stress and anxiety, at least at your place, it's really going to help them out. The kids are really going through a lot, just like you are. So you're basically working to balance their emotional stress and anxiety. Like I said, you don't necessarily need a lot of money to make this stuff happen. You just really need your time. You just need to be there for them. We've done, now sometimes you may end up doing stuff that you might not, be comfortable with, like playing with the kids, playing with their dolls. I will say it's a little weird whenever you're playing dolls with your daughter, but do it. One thing, just before I forget, one thing that we used to do, and this was actually, I think, one of the kids' therapists that mentioned that. It was the 15-minute thing. Now, I remember the first time the kids talked about that. They came over and they're like, "We want to do 15 minutes." And I'm like, "What in the world are you talking about? What is 15 minutes?" It's like, well, that's where you do 15 minutes, you set a timer, and we do whatever whatever the kid wants to do, whatever your kid wants to do with them. I'm like, okay, all right, set a timer, boop, 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 click it, 15 minutes, and do whatever they want. Typically not watch a movie or something where you're doing something with them, where you're engaging with them. Now, my youngest, she used to like to play a dog. It's like, okay, I'm a dog, you're getting me out of the kennel, and she'd bark at me and stuff like that, And my older ones, we would, maybe we would play a video game together, or, we would do, play cards or whatever. As the kids get older, they don't necessarily want to do that anymore. But that was actually, that was something just simple. And then it actually puts it on them, but if you're having a hard time come up with it, if you just say, hey, all right, you know what? For the next 15 minutes, whatever you want to do, we're going to do. And you just roll with it. Now, the good part about it is if it's something that's driving you crazy, it's only 15 minutes. It doesn't last that long. But that's something to think about. And, and those experiences, just thinking about it, it gives me good memories. And, the kids, when we were doing it, were having a lot of fun and happy with it as well. So, it's just something to think about. And bottom line is, a lot of this, and I kind of mentioned this before, good memories are a byproduct of this effort of just basically spending time with them and just doing some things. It's kind of, there's this thing I like to talk about, like, and I may have mentioned before, it's like gift with purchase. You do something and then there's a byproduct of it that is a positive. So, excuse me, it's something to think about. So, all right. So on that, guys, I want to wrap this up. Building memories with your kids is really important, and depending on your scenario, for me, I had a job that took a lot of hours, and I didn't really have an opportunity when I was married to, the roles were set up, right? I was doing the work, mom was taking care of the house. So, you kind of you start, when things start going south, you just start living, your days just kind of mush together, and you're not really getting to spend an opportunity with your kids as much. There was some other stuff going on with me, which even made it more complicated in my marriage. But to build that relationship with your kids, and it may not be easy. If the divorce is really stressful and they're angry about it, and depending on how it has played out, it's maybe more complicated for you, or maybe easier for you, depending. But just put the time in to work at it. It'll really pay off down the road. So on that, I'll wrap that up. Thanks for checking out the channel and watching the video. I really appreciate it. I hope that this gave you some things to think about that could make your life and the life of your kids a little bit better. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. I put out videos and content on a regular basis. And you know what? I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Be good to yourself. Bye.